Good evening, comic kids. Cash Cow hitting you back with another video. We're going to continue this Halloween month, Scream theme month. We got another character coming from the depths, and I mean depths. The Lord of Vampires. Not Dracula. Varnae. The first vampire ever to walk the earth. It is crazy because when you think of vampires, you always go straight to Dracula. But Dracula doesn't become who he becomes without this character. Now I'm going to hit you guys with a quick bio story of the character, Varnae. And then I'm going to hit you with two comics. Two. You might want to get your hands on if you want to learn more about this character. That being said, let's get it. Alright, guys. Originally, Varnae was a sorcerer in ancient Atlantis, right? Who was a member of the cult called the Darkholders. Y'all know who that name, right? You know the Darkhold. You got kind of introduced to it when we got Scarlet Witch, and they were kind of going more into the back depths of her story and what we know with her series. So we kind of at this point familiar with the Darkhold. But other Darkholders used the Darkhold tone to transform Varnae into Earth's first vampire. But he turned on them when they tried to use him as a weapon against their nemesis, King Cole. King Cole? Yeah, King Cole. So he was cool with it until they tried to use him as, a battering ram. Hey, take this guy out. He wasn't going for that. Obviously, that's how he became the Lord of Vampires. This man you ain't gonna make him to do what you want him to do. Alright? So, in that process, Varnae became the Lord of Vampires and would retain that title for a whole millennia. Alright? Now, when Atlantis sank, he was on Atlantis before Atlantis sank. This is how you know how old this character is. He was around that time. So when Atlantis sank beneath the sea during the Great Cataclysm, Varnae entered a state of suspended animation and awoke thousands of years later during the Hyborian Age. Hyborian Age is, how can you say, Conan, or, like slaying this dinosaur, stuff like that. He woke up during that time, right? And there he fought Conan the Barbarian, which is pretty interesting, and kind of his origin story is in one of Conan's books. All right, keep that in mind. They are talking about doing something with Conan. They might give you a backstory to this character eventually. Who knows? We don't know. All right. Okay, he fought Conan the Barbarian and his allies Red Sonja and Zulu, but was forced away by Zulu's magic. So Zulu's magic ended up conquering the day and saving they behind, because Conan and Red Sonja wasn't they wasn't ready for that guy. All right. Now, in ancient Sumeria, 2000 BC, Varnae and the sorceress Amish created a spell that could magnify a vampire's powers. But the thing he didn't know is that in the process of Amish casting this spell, he put a twist on the spell so that it only can be cast on a vampire's home soil, which in that case, in Varnae's case, no longer existed, because he actually was on Atlantis when it was above sea level. He was on Atlantis where you could walk around and it was part of the earth. It wasn't part of the sea. So therefore it transformed. That wasn't his wasn't his land anymore. All right. So, and also with that twist, besides it being cast on a vampire's home soil, It also can only be cast every 2,000 years. So in between that period of time, he had to sit. That's a long time to be sitting there. 2,000 years. That's a nice little chunk of minutes, chunk of years, decades, centuries. That's a few centuries. Like, you know how much would change in 2,000 years from now? If the Earth is, you talking about the Earth, seismic shifts and planets that was above sea level, under sea level, certain, you don't know. It might be a whole water world Kevin Costner type thing. Just saying. Well, all right. But with that being, when the next opportunity came to cast the spell around 1 AD, Varnae attempted to mystically raise Atlantis, but a mist foiled his plans. Right? So that put him back in animation. So, after he wakes up again, during the Viking Age, Varnae traveled to North America, where he discovered a colony of Vikings and battled the Norse god Thor. That's another one. So already this guy has fought Conan the Barbarian, Red Sonja, Thor. Already. Conan and Thor are already some heavy hitters and heroes. Alright? So eventually Varnae grew tired of his existence and set events in motion that would grant him a successor as Lord of Vampires. The man lived so long that he got tired of his existence. But in a way, can you blame him? Like, if you gotta sit on the shelf every 2,000 years, wake back up, have a little short reign, sit back for 2,000 years, you'll get tired of that too. I mean, you may get curious every now and then, but you're gonna get tired of that. So in the 15th century, Varnae manipulated a war between Turkish Lord Tarak and Dracula. Name sound familiar? Who was the mortal Vlad Tepes at that moment. So Dracula wasn't who Dracula was at that point in time. They were just two lords battling, right? And he happened to be the Prince of Transylvania. Starting to add up now, where you getting this Dracula and this Transylvania from. So during the battle, Dracula was fatally wounded by the immortal Apocalypse. You got a boy Apocalypse in there. That's another ancient character that's been around a long time. Alright? But was saved from death when he was bitten and transformed into a vampire by Varnae's servant, Leander. Okay. Varnae rewarded Leander with death. Obviously, she been living a long time. She was ready to go, too. That's crazy when you think about it. But I understand, Who do you really want to be immortal? Like, do you want to live forever? That's kind of, I don't know, Yeah. But anyway, he also rewarded another minion named Nimrod with the taste of his own blood. Varnae named Nimrod the Lord of Vampires and then set Nimrod against Dracula. He wanted to see, he was testing Dracula because originally he wanted Dracula to be his successor. That's who he chose from the beginning. Even when Dracula fought Turok, he wanted Dracula to be that guy, Vlad. Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler, whatever you want to call Dracula, alright? So that was his real choice for the title all along. So he set up a battle between them, and Dracula ended up killing Nimrod in a battle, but it was also killed himself in this battle. And in order to bring Dracula back, he had one of his servants either sacrifice a virgin or have sex with a virgin, and the blood somehow, it was by where Dracula's ashes was scattered. So that blood of that virgin reanimated and brought Dracula back to life. So Dracula killed the servant and then set his sights on trying to confront Varnae, but was effortlessly overpowered. He Dracula's level of power was nowhere near Varnae. Varnae is the OG, like that's the triple, double, quadruple. How many OGs you can add in that? Like he is the first, the alpha, the omega. It begins and ends with him. So Dracula didn't stand no chance with that. So, in the midst of this battle, when Dracula got overpowered, Varnae forced Dracula to drink his blood to the point of saturation, and then placed Dracula in a coffin to sleep through the coming day. And himself, he decided to walk and to die in the sunlight. That's how he ended his story. He chose his successor, bit him, made him drink enough of his blood, put him in a coffin to sleep during the day so he wouldn't be killed, and then walked into dawn and died in sunlight. That is insane, right? But he was ready for a successor. It was time for him to go, and he fell in his mind. All right. And with that being said, guys, I'm going to hit y'all with these comics. Let's go. First one, there's only two. We got Conan the Barbarian, number 245. All right, hopefully y'all can see that. Can you see that? This happens to be the origin of Varnae, Lord of Vampires. All right? And he was brought into existence. You remember, by the Darkhold using the thumb on him, the Darkhold thumb on him to give him those powers. All right, so this is basically the origin of vampires in the Marvel universe. This is kind of where it really starts. Maybe we get a backstory with Blade. Maybe it's not Blade versus Dracula. Maybe it's Blade versus Varnae. And then we have Dracula later on down the chute. Who knows, right? Kind of really don't know this character, because when you think of vampires, you always think of Dracula. You never really think of Varnae. And I'm kind of like, that's insane, because he was the first, vampire. He's the Lord of Vampires. The original Lord of Vampires. The first one to ever walk the earth. But, hey, man did his job and went home. How credit is given when you just do your job and go home. All right? With that being said, guys, we got the last one. Look at that back cover. That back cover just, ooh-wee. We got Bizarre Adventures number 33, which happens to be the first appearance of Varnae himself. This comic is not really sought after. It's pretty cheap right now. We get it, a vampire Marvel movie, or several vampire Marvel movies that are did right. I think they will do this character justice, and I would love to see it, because it's like, why not? Do something different to switch up from Dracula. Show Dracula's origin story of the vampire that was the original one. So Dracula was, right? Alright, guys, with that being said, this concludes my Halloween video. Today we covered Varnae, the OG vampire. Alright? It's Cash Cow hitting you with another video. I'm out.